On today's show, we'll take part in a Badwatch operation. Ooze finds out about fireworks, and we'll meet more ancient mammals. That's hot science.
Hi, welcome to today's show.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on Hot Science. Now, Sue, you have got gloves and a mask. What are we going to do?
Well, I've got goggles and some gloves, and we're going to do a spectacular experiment to start the show off. We're going to be looking at sodium metal and how it reacts with water. But before we do that, let me just point out that over here we've got a liquid, a clear one, called phenolphthalein, and that will be able to show us where the sodium has been after the reaction. Let me show you though. Put on your goggles because this is a little bit dangerous. Okay,
you look so good like this.
There's no need to take care. I'm ready. So in this bottle I have some sodium metal. Have you heard of sodium before?
Sodium salt?
Well, sodium is a chemical which reacts with chlorine. It happens naturally, and that is sodium chloride, and that is common salt. Sodium also can react with other things to form, sodium hydroxide, other chemicals. Let's have a look though. Sodium in its pure form is a metal. I'll just get these tweezers in there. Now, we have to store it under oil, so there's oil dripping off the sodium there at the moment, and that's to stop it reacting with air and water. I'm going to cut off just a little bit of sodium. One of the nice things about, you can see, it's a silvery white metal, but I can cut it with a knife.
Looks a little bit like modelling clay, like dried modelling clay.
It does actually feel a little bit like that. I'll put this piece of sodium back, okay, so it doesn't react. There's a little bit stuck on the tweezers. I'll try and get that off too. There we go. Now I'll just put that lid, this lid back on. Okay, now that bit of sodium's safe. We take this big piece here and we put it on the blotting paper, and then I'll just blot all the oil off so that we can do.
Won't it work if there's oil on it?
No, the oil's protecting the sodium. It's coating it so that it won't react. But there on the piece of paper towel, you can see the sodium metal. Oh, there's a little bit of oil underneath there. So I'll just.
And is it dangerous? That's why you're wearing gloves?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm not taking any risks here at the moment. Now, are you ready?
Yeah. What are we, you're putting it in there?
I'm going to put it in the bowl of water and we'll watch it react. As it reacts, it's going to form, it's reacting with the water, it'll form sodium hydroxide. So I'll drop it in.
Do I need to move back?
You might like to. Well, there we go. So we've got the sodium metal.
Look at that.
Buzzing around in the container of water. And it's reacting and
what's
forming.
What's happening to it?
Well, one thing we're getting is some sodium hydroxide being performed. And if I put some of this dye in here, you'll actually be able to see where the sodium has been. We get purple trail where it hasn't been. Oops, the liquid stays quite clear.
So what actually happened there? Why did it sort of give a mini explosion?
Well, it's producing hydrogen gas as well, and I think there must have been enough hydrogen gas there to flip the sodium up in the air.
So will it eventually break down and dissolve?
It will completely dissolve to form sodium hydroxide, and some hydrogen gas has been produced in the air. Now, this is a fairly reactive sort of metal. Sodium is pretty dangerous. You can take your glasses off now too. It's not the sort of thing you do yourself, but it really does just show you how reactive pure sodium metal is.
Elements.
Hey, where's my fireworks? I was promised some fireworks and I want them now!
Hi, Ooze. How you doing?
Hi, Sue. Hey, Sue, where's my fireworks you promised me?
Well, they're coming. They are coming,
They
but
are?
I heard you asking or thinking what an element was.
Yeah, I was actually.
Well, let's explain that first of all, because fireworks, the colours of them, actually come because of the chemicals in them. Now, an element is a pure chemical. Let me see. Have you heard of hydrogen, helium, lithium?
Lithium, beryllium, boron,
Right.
carbon,
Okay, stop.
nitrogen. Okay.
That's right. They're some of the elements. An element is a chemical made up of all the same sorts of atoms. So gold is an element when it's all gold atoms. The water you're swimming in isn't an element though. It's a mixture of different elements, hydrogen and oxygen.
Right.
Now there are lots and lots of different elements, and scientists, to help them get organised, organise elements into lots of different groups with similar properties. And one group are called the alkali metals. And we saw an experiment just before with Robin using an alkali metal called sodium.
That was great.
But there are some more alkali metals over here. Come and have a look.
Yeah.
Because one of the alkali metals is called calcium. Now, I haven't got any pure calcium here, but we have got some calcium, which has been mixed with other chemicals, carbon and oxygen, to form calcium carbonate, and that's chalk. And calcium carbonate also occurs in shells.
Oh, there's my shells.
In limestone. And calcium also occurs in milk. Now, another alkali metal is magnesium. Here we have some magnesium metal.
Right.
Okay, that's the pure element. And magnesium metal is quite bendy, and you can even cut it. It's a silvery, shiny white. We can use magnesium to make milk of magnesia And a lot of people use this to settle their upset tummy.
Oh,
It helps
right.
reduce the acid in people's tummy. Another alkali metal I've got here is the sodium. Now this is the same thing that we used in that reaction with Robin.
Yeah.
Sodium metal, it's under oil, so it's not going to react here
You just
now.
keep it away from my bowl.
But sodium can react with chlorine to form sodium chloride, which is salt. And I have some thick pieces of rock salt,
Right.
and we can grind that up and get pure salt, or table salt that we'd use for our food.
Food, yeah.
Now, some alkali metals are used to give us the colours that we see in fireworks.
Oh, great.
We use magnesium to give the beautiful white colours, and strontium to give the reds, and we use barium to give green.
Oh,
Hey, look at that. You can even get blues and purples.
Wow, that's great. But Sue, that's still not my own fireworks like you promised me.
I know it's not quite the same, but I have brought in your own special little fireworks.
Oh, great.
This is one of these. Now, this has got some chemicals on it.
Yeah.
A mixture of elements. And one of the elements that's on this thing is
Oh!
magnesium.
Hey,
Woo!
bring the lights down, bring the lights down.
Well, I'll leave you with that
look at
ooze. I'm
that.
about to disappear. See you later.
See ya. Oh, wow. Oh, that's fantastic.
Next up, missing pieces from an ancient puzzle.
Do you know what this is? It's an ancient marsupial lion that's unique to Australia. That's right, Australia had its own species of lion. And to tell us more about it, we have a paleontologist in with us, Dr. Rod Wells. Hi, Rod.
Hi, Robin.
Now, where did this lion come from?
This came from in the caves at Narracourt in the southeast of South Australia.
What, you just found it lying there?
Yeah, well, we broke through a chamber 25 years ago now, pulled some rocks out of the wall and went in, and there on a sediment-covered floor were the skulls of all these ancient animals, just lying there.
Now, is this like a real lion?
No, it's not really a true lion. It's really an ancestor is with the possums, you know, those possums that run around the trees and have parties in your roof at night. Well, that's its origins.
Did it have 4 legs and a tail like another lion
yes,
did?
just like a lion. It even had little sharp claws, just like cat claws that you get on lions, and had a big nasty thumb that it could slash its prey with.
Oh, right.
And it also had some fantastic teeth. I'll show you the skull of it here. If you have a look at the skull of this animal, it's got these big nasty teeth at the front here that it uses for stabbing its prey.
Ooh.
And look at these teeth on the side here that are used for cutting the flesh, just like a big pair of shears. So having killed its prey, it then cut off big pieces of flesh. Nasty animal.
Bit mean.
Very nasty animal,
Now,
yes.
what sort of size compared to a human?
Or this animal would be about the size of a small lion today, so, you know, quite a sizable creature.
Right. Now, what other sort of animals did you find?
Well, all sorts of things in the cave. We found the remains of extinct kangaroos, lots of them, different sizes. Some of them quite tall, up to 2 or 3 metres in height when they're standing up. Wow. Yes, and others that much smaller, but a whole range of them. And we've found also small marsupial cats, and we've found lizards and birds, and a big snake.
What, how big?
Oh, a nasty fellow, about 4 to 5 metres long, and about that in diameter. Great big python.
So we don't have anything like that round today.
No, not today. No, thank goodness.
So how did all these animals get into the cave?
Well, we think they fell in through a hole in the roof of the cave. You know, kangaroos would be jumping through the bushes and suddenly, sprong, down you go. And of course, no way out. And so their skeletons have remained there for thousands of years.
So what did you do when you found them?
Well, apart from getting incredibly excited about it, of course, we started a long process of excavating these animals. Here you can see the jaw of one of these extinct animals, and there's some students carefully dusting away from around the bones, and here's one of the skeletons of these animals, and we removed them very carefully from the cave. Here are people working around bones in the sediment, and some students playing with the skulls and drawing them and describing them.
Now, what is this?
This is the remains of one of these extinct kangaroos I was telling you about.
It looks kind of like a kangaroo.
It is. You can see the hopping hind legs and the long tail of a kangaroo, but it's a bit different.
Why?
Well, have a look at the head of it. Look how short and deep this head is, and it's got these funny little teeth at the front here, like a koala.
Oh, and kangaroos now have sort of a pointy...
That's right. They've got a long pointed snout, and they eat grass. But of course, this animal eats leaves.
And how did it do that?
Well, it plucks the leaves off with these little teeth here. But of course, being a leaf eater, it has to get those leaves off trees and things. So it has this ability to stand up and reach above its head and pull branches down and bite
And
the
normal
leaves off.
kangaroos are...
Yeah, normal kangaroo
just
can
like
only
that.
do about that. But
Right.
this character's a bit like human, you know, it can actually reach above its head and stand on its tippy toes.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, they are incredible.
So with all these animals that you found, how old are they?
Well, some of them are only about 18,000 years.
Oh, only?
Yeah, only, but that's fairly old. Some of them go back 200,000 years, maybe 300,000 years. But these were the animals that were here when man first came to Australia, when Aboriginal man first came to Australia.
So are you finding animals that you've never found before, that we
Yeah,
didn't know
well,
about?
yes, we've found some new species, like that big snake I was telling you about, and some of these kangaroos we'd never seen before. But others we'd known a little bit about. We'd found a piece here and a piece there in different parts of Australia, but never before been able to find whole skulls and skeletons. and put
Wow,
them
how
together.
exciting. Now, have you finished digging?
No, we'll go on digging for a long time. In fact, the excavation will go on long past my lifetime.
Really?
Yeah.
How long?
Well, at the rate we're digging now, some people have estimated it'd take us 400 years to dig everything out of that cave.
How wonderful. So the jigsaw puzzle's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Good
Yep.
luck.
Thanks, Robin.
Thanks very much for coming in, Rod.
Good, my pleasure.
Hey, I've got another great chemical reaction.
Oh, I love those.
Do
They're
you?
fantastic. Yeah.
Terrific. Now, Ooze, one day I want to be able to do a reaction where I can add something and all of a sudden your water's going to change colour.
Oh, that'd be great,
But
wouldn't it?
I'm still working on that one. Let's have a look at the experiment I've got here.
Okay.
I've got a chemical called cobalt chloride, which I've dissolved in some water.
That's a bit of a mouthful,
It
isn't it?
is. Well, you wouldn't drink this. Cobalt chloride, it's dissolved in water and you get this sort of a yellowy pink colour. And I'm going to paint
You're
with
gonna
that.
paint?
Yes.
You, Sue?
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I've
here
got
we
an
go.
outline. Hey?
Here we go. This
Here
will
we
be
go.
great.
I'll quickly just paint that
Yeah.
onto this outline picture. Da, da, da.
Yeah, looking great so far, Sue.
What do you think of the picture, though?
Oh,
Thought it might have
nice
been someone you
picture.
knew.
No, I don't know that one.
It looks a bit like
Oh,
a
you're painting
pterodactyl.
outside the lines, Sue.
Oh, I'm trying to do it in a hurry, Ooze.
Oh, yeah.
There we are. Now
Okay.
that's good enough. Now the
Right.
thing about cobalt chloride is
Yeah.
we leave this page to dry, and even though it's dried, the cobalt chloride still has some water molecules mixed with it. If I can get rid of those water molecules, instead of being a pinky yellowy colour, the cobalt chloride will turn blue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, do you want to see it work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well to dry off I'm going to put this one aside because
Okay.
it would take too long to dry. I'll make some room here, Ooze, and I have another page. What do you think of that one?
Wow.
Beautiful. And I've got a hairdryer here, which I can use to dry off any water that's mixed in with the cobalt chloride. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
And I hold it here over the head. Oh, can you see what's happening?
It's turning blue.
And over here, bit of the body.
Oh, is that dinosaur cold or something?
Looks like it could be. And its feet.
Wow.
And over here, the bottle.
Look at him. He's all blue now.
Sure has. Actually, Ooze,
Yeah.
it's gone a bit blue like you.
Like me. I'm a bit green, I think, Sue.
A bluey green colour.
Yeah.
Now, we could make the colour disappear
Right.
by blowing on it
Oh.
because your breath contains some water and the water mixed back with cobalt chloride will turn it back to the colour it was before.
Oh, let me try.
You
Let
have
me
a blow
try.
on that.
Okay. Okay.
Let me have a go too.
Well, you sound
Well,
about
it
as good
has
as
just
me.
about gone back. Another way, this is still quite blue here. Another way to make the colour disappear is just to spray some water on it. I've got a water bottle here.
Yeah.
If I spray like that, hey, look where the water's heading. It's turned back
Hey,
to the...
Sue, let me try that.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I
Oh,
can't quite reach that far.
Now my page is really wet. I'll have to put that aside or hang it on the line so it's dry so I can try that experiment again.
Okay.
More than 5,000 hummingbird eggs can fit inside one ostrich egg.
This is an all-purpose shade machine.
What a great idea. We thought it was so good we made a copy. Thanks, April. Robin's got it on. Come and have a look at this.
Ta-da! Isn't this wonderful? Now I have an umbrella up here to keep the sun and the rain off. I have a sun visor here, also some reflective glasses, and if I want to use it at night, I have my very own torch.
I think it's terrific. Rob, just turn around slowly and I'll point out the rest of the features. There's a crash helmet, just in case you fall over.
Or if you want to ride your bike.
That's right. There's a radio here, so you can listen to songs, and some headphones, so you can be the only person listening to it. There's a toothbrush here, and around further, there's toothpaste. And look at this. your own little mobile phone, so you can ring your friends and send a message.
It's so clever, and no matter what the weather or the occasion, I'm ready for it.
Oh, I love flowers. I love the smell of them. I even love the look of them. Hey, I've got an optical illusion for you involving flowers. Take a look at this. Which flower centre do you think's the biggest? Or are they the same?
Next, listening in on bat speed.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if you could discover your own cave full of stalagmites and stalactites like these? One way to do it would be to discover your own cave, but you could make your own stalagmites and stalactites at home.
We could, how?
Sure you can. Well, all you need is some warm water in some jars, like we've got here, and some washing soda.
Right, like we use at home.
Yeah, this is another thing you'd use at home for lots of different things, and it's sort of hard, white, crystally things. I've got an empty saucer or dish and some wool with paper clips tied at each end. So do you want to make stalactites and stalagmites? Okay, what you do with your sodium carbonate, the washing soda, is dissolve it in the water, and you try and dissolve as much as possible.
Do you want me to stir that?
Yep, I'll put 4 good spoonfuls there.
Right.
And 4 good ones in mine. How clever are you? Can you stir 2 at once?
Oh, I'll try.
Okay. There we go, 4 of those. Okay, excellent. Keep stirring.
Whoa, making a mess here.
That's great, Rob. Okay, perhaps if you were doing this at home, you'd add a bit more and really make it totally saturated so no more will dissolve. And then you get your wool with the paper clips. You dunk it in the mixture just to wet it. Take it out like that and put 1 paper clip in each jar and let the string hang in between. Now there's that bowl there. Could you just grab that? And we'll put that in between and just lower this so that you really do have a drip forming. And as that continues to drip, we'll get a stalactite forming there and a stalagmite underneath.
Ah, and we've got one set up over here.
Sure we do.
Is that
Come
what
have a
this
look at
is?
this.
Right.
Yeah, this has been going for a few days now, and you can see the stalactite and the stalagmite.
Okay, so the stalactite's going down and the stalagmite's coming up?
Yep, the tights come from the top and the mites come from below. And what happens is that the solution of washing soda in water gets absorbed along the wool and it starts to drip here, and then the water evaporates and you're left with the crystals. So if you want to make one of these, the best place to set it up is somewhere really warm and dry, where there might even be just a little bit of breeze to help evaporate as much water as possible.
It's so easy.
Yep, why don't you try doing it yourself?
Meet Terry Reardon. He's an expert on bats. Not the cricket type, but the ones that hang around upside down. Terry and his team study bats and their habitats or homes. To study the bats properly, they first need to trap some. So they set up giant nets called mist nets, and they take special electronic equipment to help them with their task.
What we're doing here is, what we're doing tonight is hopefully we're going to catch some bats and record their high-pitched sounds. Each bat has a different sound, and what we hope to be able to do is identify each bat species by their sound. The sound that they call out, which is an echo sound, is very high-pitched sound, and we can't hear it with our own ears. Humans don't have hearing in that high range. So what we need to have is a thing called a bat detector, which is this box here, which if I turn it on and gently rub my fingers together, you can hear high-pitched sound being detected by this little box here. This is a bat detector. And it's quite a sophisticated bit of gear. What we can do is analyse the sound that comes through this bat detector. Sound comes into the bat detector, goes into this bit of electronics in this box here, and then goes into the computer. And what we see on the screen here is the call from one of the very common bats around the Adelaide region, the chocolate wattle bat. And each of these little lines on the screen represents a call from the bat. When a bat flies, it shouts out sound in pulses. It will shout out a sound going click, 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 click. And each one of those clicks is represented by a line on the screen. If we could actually hear the bat sound, it would sound like this. A high pitch to a low pitch. So each of these sounds, if we could hear them, would sound like this. Oh, Oh, we have one here. Let's look. All right, this is, I can see this one. This is a Gould's wattle bat. Let's just get him out. Fairly easy to get a bat out of a mist net if you get them out very quickly. Now this bat is a very common bat. We find it all the way from Tasmania into the dry parts of the Northern Territory. Very easy to tell. It's the only bat, if we look at it here, it's the only bat that has this very dark head and shoulders and light brown body. And he's having a bit of a nip of me there, but it doesn't hurt at all. And isn't that a lovely animal? A beautiful face.
Each bat that's caught is examined closely. Terry records all the details in his computer and measures the wings.
It's 32.1. Okay, this one here is the long-eared bat, and it's a very common species. Again, it's distributed from Tasmania right through to Northern Territory. There are, in fact, 70 species of bats in Australia. Bats make up 1/4 of all the species of mammals in Australia, and that's true worldwide. There are about 1,000 species of bats in the world and about 4,000 mammals altogether. So 1/4 of all the mammal species are bats. They're extremely a successful group. Now what I'm going to do is get Rochelle here. And I want you to walk just over there. Stand right about there, Rochelle. Just hang on for a sec and I'll make sure that the computer's working. Okay, Rochelle, if you can let it go now, and everybody be still, please.
It's quiz time!
Oh, great. Hey, Ooze, what is one common element you find in milk?
Oh, that's easy. It's calcium.
That's mine. And Robin, if you wanted to make your own stalagmites and stalactites, what would you use?
I'd use washing soda, 2 jars, warm water, wool and some paper clips.
Yeah.
That's
Great. Why don't you try making your own stalagmites and stalactites?
Oh, yeah, see how big you can get them to grow.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. How would I pick this bottle up with this straw? Look, see, I can't, it doesn't help. I don't think
That's
I
not
can
going
put
to
it under
work,
it.
Rob.
No, it will. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
show us.
easy. All you have to do is bend it, put it in like that, and ta-da!
Excellent.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing. See, maybe you could try that one.
Oh, I could try that.
Yeah, but get like a really big bottle
Yeah.
and then a little straw like that. See if you can still do it.
Okay.
That's
a
something
great
for
idea.
you to try.
Yeah.
Look, it's time for us to go. We'll see you on our next show. Goodbye.
Bye.